Sebastien Maillard, Special Advisor in Jacques Delors Institute Center and expert in European affairs. Good evening indeed. So, we know first exit polls. How would you comment on these early results?
There are early results and they may again evolve during the evening. I would have four takeaways. First is that there has been a massive turnout, nearly 68%, which is haven't been seen for the many various previous legislative elections. I mean, it means that the French really took this seriously and they knew what was at stake, and it was a very high turnout. The second takeaway I'll put forward is that whatever happens at the second round, we know now for sure that the regime will be less presidential because, as you pointed out, Macron has partly lost these elections. His party comes third. Marine Le Pen's party is first, and then the left union. So whatever happens, either it's a cohabitation or a coalition of moderates or technical government, it will always be less power for Macron, who has two defeats in a row in 1 month after the European elections and these legislative elections. And then the third takeaway is that there will be many moves again during the coming days, because actually the real outcome for next week depends on how voters now are going to react when they see these three major polls: hard right, the left, and the centrist. Whether one candidate, when there are three candidates, if one the last one calls the others to vote to block the RN, or if this discipline doesn't work out. So it is really, I think it's still very unpredictable. It is possible for the National Rally to get an absolute majority, and Marine Le Pen has just called for it. It is possible for them to govern, but it is also possible that there is next Sunday a union from the centrists and the left to overcome this possibility. But my fourth and last takeaway is that in any case, we see a very polarized society with much, when you see those three camps, I mean, 33% for Le Pen, 28% for the left, including the far left, and 22 plus 10% also from the right and center right. It really sees three blocks, and maybe one of them will succeed next Sunday, or the two others will try to prevent the Le Pen from winning.
Mm-hmm. Right. So, well, it all happened because President Emmanuel Macron decided to call these snap elections. This came as a shock to many. And therefore, my question is whether this plan has worked. I know that the President's party came third, but it could have been worse, if you agree with me. And so, has this plan partially worked? Has it failed? Has it backfired? Or has it still a chance of succeeding during the next round of elections? I think it still has a chance.
It still has a chance next Sunday, depending on if during the coming days his opponents from the Socialist Party, from the Républicains, will for the first time agree to make a coalition, because in France we don't have this culture of compromise or coalition between usually there is an absolute majority and it's a very presidential regime. So it depends also if Macron is this time really willing to share his power. But I think his gamble is still very dangerous, because there is a possibility for the RN to get an absolute majority. This is still cannot be dismissed. And also, I think when he decided the snap elections, he thought that there will be more people in the center, from the center left and the center right, to unite with him rather than to unite with either the far left or even with the far right. So it's partly a defeat, I think, for what he expected. But there is still a chance for him to perhaps get a new kind of coalition. But in any way, as I said, it will be a less presidential regime. He will have to share his power with this coalition if he succeeds to make one. He just made a written statement tonight calling for a large coalition, Democratic and Republican, that will try to overcome the RN, which again makes very successful score, because in 2 years ago, the RN scored 18%. Now it's scoring 33%. So it's massive. And they will try to fight to get this absolute majority. They will even try to fight to get, even if they don't get the threshold, to try to convince others from the right wing to go with him. So it's going to be a very tough week in French politics.
Nevertheless, the first scenario in which the grand coalition of centrists and the left rule France seems more likely. But as you said, the Rassemblement National still have a chance of taking it all. How come? I mean, do you believe that these exit polls show us a false image of what's actually happening in France? That people are afraid to tell who they were voting for? What was the reason?
No, I think now they're less afraid of telling. What is obvious now is that the national rally, Rassemblement National, Le Pen's party, is clearly has become has normalized itself. It is because, as I said, now it's getting over 30% of the votes. That's massive. They already triumphed in the European elections, but the European elections have had a much lower turnout. The turnout was around 51%. This time it's a 68%. So they confirm that they can succeed even with a massive turnout. And I think Macron was hoping that this positive turnout would be more favorable to him. But it's true that with the score of his majority, with the score of the Républicains, with some score on the centre left, there could be a way for a coalition spanning from the centre left to the centre right, which could be and overcome this possibility still of a national rally government.
So how will it affect French foreign policy? Because, as you said, what we know for sure now is that it will not be the same, because Emmanuel Macron will obviously have to share power with his allies, political allies. Yeah. So how will it affect French foreign policy? As we know, President Macron has been a staunch supporter of Ukraine's affairs lately. So how these early results or final results will translate into the French foreign affairs?
It actually depends if he governs, if he is president with allies, as you say, with a coalition that is still in the mainstream, or if it's what we call a cohabitation, that is, he has the government from the Le Pen is in power. That's, of course, two scenarios that are very different. In the first case, if he has a coalition, he will have to negotiate, and some maybe not as staunch supporter of the EU as he is, but I mean, still it will be still more France on EU affairs and on international affairs, speaking with one voice. I think this may the coalition's allies, we may see more of the difference regarding the domestic affairs. But if it's a cohabitation with the RN, then that means, of course, he will still go to the European Council. We will still see him at the summits in Brussels. He has already said that he will never step down. So he will be the head of state of France going to the European summits. But he will not have anymore the budgetary means or the means to nominate everyone he wants, as in the case today. And this may be very different. France with two voices, one of the government and one of Le Pen and of Macron. And regarding Ukraine, for instance, if the Ministry of Defense is in the hands of the RN and the budget as well with the Ministry of Finance, of course, the financial and military equipment for Ukraine could be less than in the case today. So I think it's, of course, a very important outcome also for our aid to Ukraine. Obviously.
Right. Just to paraphrase Jordan Bardella, he stated that he won't let Russian imperialism to annex Ukraine. But then, on the other hand, he opposes the use of long-range weapons against Russians.
No.
So is it just that...
The RN is clearly a pro-Russian party. It's been financed by Russia. It's a party that many of its members and some of its allies also, like Thierry Mariani, who has joined them, are clearly close to the Kremlin. So he has tried to water down his tone during the campaign on Russia, but it's clearly not someone that will be supportive of Ukraine accession to the EU. He's fiercely against any enlargement of the EU, and yes, he would oppose sending big range weapons to Ukraine. So it will, if he became the prime minister, it would be one of the toughest issues between him and the French President Macron.
It will be a hectic week for French politicians.
Very much so.
This time, Sebastien Maillard, special advisor in the Jacques Delors Institute and expert in European affairs, was our guest tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you.